Good day, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. How are you all doing? I am Dr. Doreen I. Wheeler, your instructor for AFAM 200, Introduction to African American Studies. And this is a recording of the pre-colonial African civilizations or early African civilizations. Now, I'm going to ask you to bear with me because I want to try to share my screen so that you can see what I see. Hope everybody can see that. All right, we is going on. We are presenting from the current slide. I don't know what is happening. We just had some kind of snafu. What is that doing? Sorry, guys. All right, so we want to slash. All right, guys. So I hope you are seeing this and you are not seeing my presenter screen. So this lecture is to provide you with a supplemental information about the early African civilization. I would strongly advise you to take notes or rewatch this video as need be because you will be held accountable for the information via a class quiz and or maybe the discussion board. So today we have a few learning outcomes. We're going to identify and analyze key African civilizations. Students should be able to describe the major pre-colonial kingdoms, including ancient Egypt, Kemet, Kush, Mali, Songhai, Great Zimbabwe, and the Swahili states, among others. Learners will examine their geographical locations, key rulers, political structures, and cultural contributions. You will evaluate these contributions of the African rulers and societies. You will assess the political, economic, and cultural impact of these rulers, such as Mansa Musa, Queen Nzinga, and others. You will be able to explain how African civilizations shaped global trade, education, governance, and religious practices before European colonization. And finally, you will evaluate the contributions of early African civilizations to the global history, meaning students should be able to evaluate the contributions of early African civilizations to global history by explaining their advancements in areas such as mathematics, astronomy, art, and other impacts on the culture in the region. This will highlight the significant role that these civilizations have played in the broader historical context. So, as we begin, let's think about the fact that Africa is a huge, huge continent, a great continent. Um, and I want to help you understand that we're going to be using historical dating systems and knowledge about BCE, which is the before the Common Era, or some people used to say BC before Christ. And that just means that the year started before year one. Like we are in year 2025. So when we talk about the pyramid in Gaza, not Goza, Giza. Sorry, that's a typo. But the pyramid of Giza, Giza is how it should be spelled. I will make that correction. That was built in 2500 BCE, so before we started counting the year. And the year starts with the common year. So the year of the Lord, or the year after year one, or Adonai, year of the Lord. Okay. So that's just that. I just like to want you to have that because we are going to be talking about BCE, before Common Era, and CE, Common Era. So we're starting with the pre-African civilizations. I want to cover the various regions of Western, Eastern, Central, Northern, and the Southern kingdoms and empires. Understand that this is a brief overview. This is not exhaustive at any point due to lecture constraints and time. There are several references that I have in the reference page if you want to read more. But I would also challenge you that NEIU offers an African American Studies minor for undergraduates. So if you are interested in learning more and doing a deeper dive after the AFAM 200, I would strongly advise you to seek out our AFAM coordinator or talk to me about possibly minoring in AFAM and African American Studies. And one of the required courses of the minor is entitled Foundations of African Civilization, AFAM 301. I taught this class before. It's a great class, and it provides that deeper exploration into pre-colonial and colonial African civilizations, cities, people, language, leaders, religion, rulers, states, and tribes. So again, I'm plugging AFM minor for undergrads in case you're interested in going a deeper dive and learning more. All right, so let us look at where we're going to start and what the criteria we're going to use to explore and talk about these 5 regions. In this lecture, we'll explain each kingdom or empire according to 4 general overview kind of criteria: current geographical location, major rulers and or leadership styles, contributions, resources, and long-term impact and significance to the global history. Once again, I would advise you to take notes or rewatch this video as needed. Okay. So we want to start, we will begin exploring in the pre-colonial African kingdoms of West, East, and Central Africa. Make note of the content descriptions and make note of the different rulers that you will see. Okay. Next, we will talk about the Southern Africa and Northern Africa. And as we get to these civilizations, you see these as the more older, and you'll see these have the BCE more so than the CE. So let's start out with Western Africa. We have the Ghana Empire. Students should be able to describe these major colonial African kingdoms. And we are going to start with Ghana, Mali, and Songhai empires that existed during the Common Era of the CE movement. And these align with what is traditionally referred to as the year calendar year starting. Okay. So as we begin, I wanted to give you a, picture and a map so you can see current territories in present day Africa, and you see where Ghana is, Niger, Ivory Coast, and Benin, home of the Domi warriors. So the Ghana Empire was in existence from 300 to 1200 CE. Present day, the Ghana Empire is situated in the area that is now modern day Mauritania. I hope I'm saying that right, and Mali. It was also located between the Sahara Desert and the West African coast. The key rulers, while their specific names and rulers are not consistently documented, one of the king figure was known as Ghana, or the head significant power. The kingship was a hereditary model passed down through matrilineal lines, and the empire was centralized kingdom who controlled their trade and administered justice through the help of officials and a strong army. The king also had a council to advise him, so like a king's advisory committee. The cultural contributions of Ghana Empire is known for its complex social hierarchy and traditions. Although specific cultural contributions are not detailed in certain documents that I was able to go through, we do know that the economy was based on trade, particularly trade of gold, salt, and copper. We also know that Ghana was a crucial trading hub and connected North African traders with the gold fields of the South. As for climate and natural resources, the region's climate varied with the arid conditions of the Sahara, and it was more fertile lands to the south. Gold was the most significant natural resource, driving much of the economic power in this region. And when we think about cultural contributions from past to present, the empire facilitated early trans-Sahara trade, which had far-reaching impacts on economic and cultural exchanges between West and North Africa. Okay, and that's Ghana. Mali, 1235 to 1600 CE. So Mali, the Mali Empire is currently located in West Africa, encompassing parts of modern-day Mali, Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, Niger, and Mauritania. I hope I'm saying that right. It is also situated along the Niger River. One of the key rulers that everybody pretty much knows about is Mansa Musa. And Mansa Musa was one of the famous rulers of the Mali Empire, known for his extraordinary wealth and his pilgrimage to Mecca, where he disrupted the business, the trade, and everything because he was giving out gold all along the way. Other significant rulers included Sudaniata, Sundiata, Kieta. I hope I'm saying that right. And this was the founder of Mali. And this is a wonderful story. I think it's in one of the Davison books or Basil that talks about this ruler and how he came about. The political structure in Mali, the empire had centralized government with provinces ruled by governors appointed by an emperor. The emperor held supreme authority, and the empire was divided into administrative regions. The cultural contributions, Mali Empire is renowned for its Islamic scholarship and the establishment of the University of Saint Khoury in Timbuktu, which became a major learning center. This empire was promoted the spread of Islam and the Islamic culture throughout West Africa. As far as the economic system in Mali, it was based on agriculture, trade, and the control of gold and salt resources. Timbuktu was the major commercial center. When we think about the climate and natural resources, the empire spanned diverse climate zones along the Niger River with access to the fertile lands and the gold mines. Gold and salt were the most sought after and important resources in this region and empire. The cultural contributions, past and present global history, Mali has, as an empire, contributed significantly to the spread of Islam and to its learning centers, such as Timbuktu, attracted scholars from around the Muslim world and the African world, contributing to intellectual and cultural exchange. Mansa Musa's pilgrimage, to Mecca showcased the empire's wealth and the sophistication to the rest of the world. And that is Mali. Songhai Empire, 1464 to 1591. Songhai Empire was centered in the region of the Niger River, primarily the modern day Mali and Niger. It extends over the control of a large area of West Africa. And I was looking for maps and things to see if I could find the past, but I couldn't find any that worked. So I apologize for not giving you a visual. So key rulers was Sunni Ali, was a key ruler who expanded the empire through military conquest. Akia Muhammad the First further expanded the empire and also promoted Islamic scholarship. The political structure of the Songhai Empire had a centralized administration with provinces governed by appointed officials. The emperor had absolute power, and the empire was divided into provinces for better administration. As for the cultural contributions, the Songhai Empire continued scholarly traditions of the Mali Empire, with Timbuktu remaining a major center of learning and Islamic scholarship. The empire also promoted Islamic law and education. The the economic system, the empire relied heavily on trade, agriculture, and controlled key trade routes. To Goa and Timbuktu were also very important commercial centers. The climate and natural resources of this region encompassed along the Niger River were varied due to the climate and access to natural resources such as gas, salt, and agriculture. Gold and salt remained critical natural resources. As for contributions, past and present, to the global history, Songhai Empire perpetuated Islamic scholarship and contributed to the preservation of knowledge in West Africa, leaving a legacy of intellectual and religious influence. It has also maintained extensive trade networks that connected West Africa to North Africa and well beyond. And that is the West. Let's travel to the East. So when we think about the areas to the east, again, we're going to talk about geographical location, major rulers and scholar leadership styles, contributions, and global impact. And we have two empires in the city-states to look at. So Kingdom of Aksum. The Kingdom of Aksum was located in the northern highlands of present-day Ethiopia and Eritrea. I hope I'm saying that right. It existed from 100 to 940 CE. Its capital was Aksum, which was situated near the Red Sea, providing access to maritime trade relations and routes. The key rulers was King Nzinga, who reigned during the 4th century CE and was notable for adopting the Christianity as the state religion and making Aksum one of the earliest Christian kingdoms in Africa. King Caleb ruled also in the 6th century CE and was known for his military campaigns in the Arabian Peninsula, particularly against the Himyarites kingdom. The political structures, the kingdom had a centralized government with hierarchical structures. The king held supreme authority, and the kingdom was divided into provinces administered by various officials. The administration included nobles and officials who managed various regions and aspects of governance. The kingdom also issued its own coinage, reflecting the sophisticated level of political and economic organization of the time and of this kingdom. The cultural contributions that we found, Aksum was known for unique architecture, including towering obelisks and well-built stone structures. The Aksumites developed their own script, which is GE-EZ, and were among the first Africans to adopt Christianity as the state religion, as we mentioned before. And Aksum's economy was based in agriculture, trade, and control of trade routes. Aksum's economy was bolstered by a strategic position along the various trade routes connecting to the Roman Empire and India. The kingdom exported ivory, gold, emeralds, and exotic animals while importing textiles, metals, spices with Egypt, the Roman Empire, and India. The issuance of coinage in gold, silver, and bronze facilitated trade and underscored Aksum's economic significance. Now look at the date. Look at this date. And we're talking about these people are developing coins. So you see how learning helps disrupt the narratives that there were no contributions or nothing significant coming out of Africa before it was colonized. Okay. The climate and the natural resources in this area was situated with a temperature climate and fertile soils. Aksum benefited from this and had great agriculture, cultivating grains, fruits, and coffee, and their proximity to the Red Sea and the Nile River enabled access for water resources and trade opportunities. The highlands provided timber and other materials essential for the construction and daily life. When we think about the contributions of Aksum as an empire, we have to recognize one of the great civilizations of the ancient world, and this kingdom played a significant role in the early spread of Christianity in Africa, also in maintaining trade links and major civilizations of its time, integrated region and global economic and cultural networks. The architectural achievements and the unique script also stand as lasting contributions of the historical legacy of the Ethiopian identity. The Swahili city-states in the Kingdom of Aksum was instrumental in shaping the history and culture and trajectories of East Africa, and their contributions, trade and religion, language, architecture have left a lasting impression. So let's go to the city-states. First, let's look at a picture of Ethiopia. This is a current day map picture, so you can see how big, and I think that is the capital right there. Now, the city-states existed from 1000 to 1500 CE. These states were located along the East African coast, stretching to present-day Somalia to northern Mozambique. The key cities were Kiowa, Mombasa, Malindi, Zanzibar, Lamu, and Pate. The rulers typically governed as leaders, and they often had the title of sultans, and family were often held the power within cities. So, like the Wheeler family would hold the power, or the Jones family. Okay. The political structures of these city-states were largely autonomous, each with its own governors and ruling elite. The governance was typically led by a sultan, as I said before, supported by a council of elders and merchants. And the political structures were influenced by Islamic principles, reflecting the deep integration of Islam into Swahili culture. They were categorized by a blend of African and Islamic traditions. As for the cultural contributions of the Swahili civilization, developed a unique culture blending African and Arab influences. The Swahili language, the Bantu language, with significant Arabic loan words, is a testament to the cultural synthesis. Architecture characterized by coral stone buildings and the adoption of Islam also stand out and provide cultural significance for this area. When we think about economic systems, they thrived on trade connecting the interior of Africa with the Indian Ocean trade networks. They exported goods such as gold, ivory, slaves, and timber to Arabia, Persia, India, and China, while importing textiles, ceramics, and spices. Their strategic coastal location and mastery of monsoon wind patterns, that's interesting, facilitated extensive maritime trade. The climate and nature and the natural resources, because of its situation along the East African coast, was pretty much tropical, and they benefited from a warm weather, but also had to deal with seasonal monsoons. The coastal environment provided resources like fish, mangrove poles, coconut palms, and the fertile lands led to great agriculture, producing grain, fruits, and other crops to sustain the urban population. Excuse me. Cultural contributions, past and present. Swahili city-states played crucial role in Indian Ocean trade. They facilitated cultural and economics exchange between Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. And these exchanges created a cosmopolitan culture that influenced art, language, and trade practices in the region and far beyond. The Swahili language remains widely spoken in East Africa today, and the architectural and cultural legacies of these city-states continues to influence the region's identity, even in present day. Central Africa. All right, Central Africa. So we got three kingdoms we're going to go through here. Central Africa, the Kingdom of Congo, 1390 to 1914 CE. The Congo is situated in West Central Africa, encompassing areas of present-day northern Angola and the western portion of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the southern Gabon. Its capital was Mabanza, Congo, or later renowned Seoul, Salvador. The cultural contributions, the Congo people were skilled in metalwork, poetry, and weaving Rafikaros. They developed rich cultural traditions, including music, art, and dance. And they also adopted Christianity and led unique religious syncretisms, building traditional beliefs with Christian practices. The economic systems was based on agriculture, hunting, and trade. The kingdom controlled trade routes dealing with ivory, copper, raffia cloth, and poetry. And the introduction of maize and canvasa from the Americas via Portuguese trade boosted agriculture. Okay. The cultural natural resources of this kingdom, it was a fertile region in South Africa, in Central Africa. So it's located in a tropical region, and the kingdom benefited from those fertile lands for suitable agriculture and rich deposits of copper from the Congo River and the Congo River helped facilitate trade. Cultural contributions of the Kingdom of Congo, excuse me, it played a significant role in the early African European interactions. Its adoption of Christianity and diplomatic relations with Portugal are early examples of cross-cultural exchange. However, these interactions led to the involvement in the transatlantic slave trade with long-lasting consequences for this region. Here's a picture of the area so you can see where we are. Going to see. The Kingdom of Congo, this is King Alfonso the First, and he was one of the rulers and known for the rulers of the Congo were referred to as Many Congo, and the original Congo kings appeared in mythical stories. Lukane Nime, traditionally considered the founder around 1390, and Alfonso the First reigned from 1506 to 1642 and was noted for adopting Christianity and also establishing strong ties with Portugal. Alvaro I Nimi Alukini reigned from 1568 to 1587 and sought Portuguese assistance against internal conflicts within their tribe. The political structure, we talked a little bit about this and we'll talk a little more, but the political structure is loosely a federation of small policies or countries and governance, and it is involved in central kingdom. It evolved from a more centralized kingdom. And the king is known as Mani Congo, as I said, and they wield all the authority over several provinces. Each province is governed by an appointed official, red leather, yellow leather. I can't talk today. And the kingdom had structured bureaucracy and a system that tributed to the various sub-territories. In Doga Kingdom, as present-day Lukala and the Kwanza rivers around the Angola. The capital is Kabasa. The key rulers during this time, early 15th century, late 15th century, early 16th century, was Ngola Kilujani. And Ngola Mbani was the brother of Queen Nzinga, and his death led to her succession. And Queen Nzinga reigned from 1624 to 1663, and she is celebrated for the resistance um, that she and her people put up and under her leadership to fraud and try to stop Portuguese colonization. The political structure is a centralized kingdom with a monarch as the ruler. Ndoga was a central kingdom, and the ruler's title was Ngola. The kingdom was divided into provinces, each governed by local chiefs known as sobas, who paid tribute to the Ngola. A council of advisors also assisted the Ngola in governance. As for cultural contributions, Ndonga shared cultural similarities with neighboring kingdoms, including a language of Kimbunda and religious practices. The kingdom is noted for its resistance to the Portuguese colonization, particularly under Queen Nzinga, as I mentioned earlier, who became a symbol of African resistance and diplomacy. The climate and natural resources, this is the tropical savanna climate, and there are fertile soils suitable for agriculture. The region is rich in natural resources, including minerals, wildlife, and is supported with hunting and trade. As for the cultural contributions, Ndoga's interactions with the Portuguese significantly impacted the region's history. The kingdom's resistance to the colonization, especially under Queen Nzinga, is celebrated in global history as a testament to African resilience and statecraft. And FYI, Netflix has a great documentary movie in action of Queen Nzinga, if you want to check that out. Matamba Kingdom was also ruled by Queen Nzinga, and this is located also in present-day Angola, in the region of the Malani province. The capital is Matamba. Queen Awat Matamba was the ruler, and she overthrew Queen Nzinga. But Queen Nzinga was ousted, and after they were conquered. Queen Victoria First Gutierrez reigned from 1681 to 1721, known for consolidating the kingdom and engaging in diplomacy with Portuguese. The political structure is centralized, as we mentioned earlier, often ruled by kings, but primarily this area was ruled by queens. The ruler held absolute authority, but there was support by a council of nobles. The cultural contributions, the kingdom of Matambe, like its neighboring states, was rich in cultural heritage. The Kimbunde speaking people of Matamba were known for their oral traditions, music, dance, and art. The kingdom was also notable for frequently one of the largest ruling class of women came out of this particular kingdom, and a lot of its leaders were women. Strong leadership and diplomacy skills left a lasting impact on the Angolan history. The economic systems primarily based on agriculture with the cultivation of crops such as millet, sorghum, and cassava. The kingdom also engaged in trade both locally with neighboring regions, and under Queen Nzinga's rule, it became a significant player in disrupting the regional slave trade, a major source of economic activity at the time. Climate and natural resources located in the region, like I said, is tropical savanna climate, cultural distinctions of wet and dry season, supported by agriculture. There's forests, timbers, other resources. The Kwango River, which flows through this kingdom, is a vital water source that facilitates trade as well as transportation. Cultural contributions. The kingdom of Matamba played a significant role in resisting Portuguese colonization in Central Africa. Under the leadership of Queen Nzinga, Matamba not only resisted Portuguese incursions, but also engaged in diplomatic relations with European powers, including the Dutch. The kingdom's resilience and strategic alliances have been studied as examples of African agency and resistance during the colonial period. The kingdom was culturally rich and economically significant state in Central Africa. Its strategic locations, resource wealth, and skilled leadership allowed it to play a pivotal role in the region's history, leaving a lasting legacy that we recognize today. Southern Africa. So there were several civilizations, folks. So if you want to do more research, but for this talk, I cut it down tremendously. So we're going to look at Great Zimbabwe, Rosvi Empire, and the Zulu Kingdom. So Great Zimbabwe is located near present-day Masvingo of the southeastern Zimbabwe. The specific names of rulers are not documented or well written or accessible. Great Zimbabwe did serve as a political capital of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe, and it was a centralized state with a ruling elite that exercised control over surrounding regions. The cultural contributions, a renowned, impressive stone architecture, particularly great enclosures and conical towers. Sites are yielded where you see soapstone bird sculptures with significant cultural artifacts. Um, so art and things like that. The economy was based on cattle husbandry, agriculture, and trade. It was also a hub for trading and connecting to interior Africa with the Swahili coast, dealing with gold, ivory, and other commodities. As for the climate and natural resources, like I told you before, it was situated in a region of fertile soils and temperate climate. So it was very suitable for agriculture. And it was also very rich in natural minerals, again, particularly gold, which was a major trade and commodity. The contributions for the past and present global history is Great Zimbabwe stands as a testament to architectural and organizational capabilities of pre-colonial African societies. Its ruins have become the symbol of African heritage and have influenced contemporary discussions on African history and identity. And I just have a quick picture of some of the ruins that you can see, the structures, things like that. All right, the Rose V Empire, situated in Zimbabwean plateau covering parts of present-day Zimbabwe. It was founded by Chang Marie Dombo I, who established the empire and expelled Portuguese settlers from the region. The Roso Empire was a central state with a king known as Mambo, wielding significant authority. The empire was divided into provinces, and each was appointed by a governor. The cultural contributions are noted for their stone building techniques similar to those in Great Zimbabwe and their military strength and innovations, which helped maintain their dominance in the region. Their economic system was based on agriculture, cattle rearing, and trade, and they controlled the regional trade networks and were involved in gold trade. The climate and natural resources of the region are a favorable climate for agriculture and rich in minerals, including gold. The cultural contributions, the Rosvi Empire played a crucial role in resisting European colonization efforts in Southern Africa, particularly against the Portuguese. So you see, people were fighting back. People were fighting back, but people were also assisting Europeans as well. The Zulu Kingdom, located in the northeast part of present-day South Africa, primarily the province of KwaZulu Natal. Shaka Zulu reigned from 1816 to 1828 and is the most renowned ruler known for his military innovations and state building efforts. The Zulu kingdom was a centralized monarchy with a strong military orientation. The king had supreme powers and was supported by a council of advisors and military commanders. As for the cultural contributions, the Zulu are known for their rich oral traditions, music, dance, and distinctive beadwork. The kingdom's military culture and tactics have been extensively studied and have left a lasting legacy. The economic systems was based on cattle herding, agriculture, and trade. Cattle was central to this society, serving as a measure of wealth and social status. Climate and natural resources. The region had subtropical climate with fertile soil suitable for agriculture. The area also supported large herds of cattle, which were integral to the Zulu economy, as I mentioned earlier. Contributions, past and present. This kingdom resisted against British rule, particularly during the Angolan Zulu War of 1879, and has been widely documented and has influenced global perceptions of African resistance, agency, and colonialism, sorry. Northern Africa, again, there were so many kingdoms that were established, and I narrowed it down to these four. Okay, so it's more out there for you to study. It's more out there that we don't know about. So I want to start with ancient Kemet, 3100 BC to 30 BC, and we can see this is before the year. So this is before, some people say before Christ, before year one. All right. The central is central along the Nile River, what is now known as modern day Egypt, extending to the Mediterranean Sea in the north to the first cataract near Aswan in the south. Notable pharaohs included Namur, the unifier of Upper and Lower Egypt, Hatshepsut, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, Ramses II, Cleopatra the eighth. Namur means traditionally is accredited for, like I said, unifying Upper and Northern Egypt around 3100 BC. Queen Hatshepsut was one of the few female pharaohs known for her prosperous reign and monumental building of projects from 1479 to 1458 BCE. And Akhenaten introduced monotheism and the worship of Aten, the sun disk, reigned from 1353 to 1336 BCE. Ramesses II, known for his military campaigns and extensive building programs, reigned from 1279 to 1213 BCE. Cleopatra the Eighth was the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty, known for her alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony in 69 to 30 BCE. The political structure is a theocratic monarchy, with the pharaoh is considered both a divine deity and the supreme political leader. The administration was highly centralized, supported by a complex bureaucracy, including viziers, priests, and scribes. The cultural contributions of ancient Egypt is renowned, known for its monumental architecture, from pyramids, temples to tombs. Its contributions to writing, hieroglyphics, art, mathematics, medicine have all had lasting impacts on situations that follow. The writing system developed by the hieroglyphics is one of the earliest known writing systems. Its architecture, the construction of monumental structures such as the Pyramid of Giza, the Sphinx, and numerous other temples. Its art was produced distinctive art forms characterized by symbolic representation and adherence to strict conventions. And science and medicine made advancement in mathematics, astronomy, and medical practices. As for its economic systems, it was based in agriculture, facilitated by the Nile's annual flooding, which provided fertile soil. Trade, neighboring regions were also significant, involving commodities like gold, papyrus, linen, and grain. As far as the climate and natural resources, it's situated in a desert region. The Nile River provides a fertile corridor that supports the agriculture. The natural resources include gold from Nubia, as well as stone and minerals used in construction and art. The Nile's annual flooding enriches the soil, making it highly fertile amidst the surrounding desert. So natural resources, include limestone, sandstone, granite, gold. Particularly understand that some of this was from Nubia too. Contributions for past and present. The ancient Egyptian contributions have lasting and present. Art, architecture, religion, governance, monumental structures continue to be studied and admired, and the cultural practices have been foundational in studying ancient civilizations. This is one of the pyramids. Kingdom of Kush or Nubia. Centered along the Nile Valley of what is now northern Sudan and southern Egypt. Key rulers were Pi, who conquered Egypt and established the 25th dynasty in 744 to 714 BCE. Shabaka, which was the successor to Pi and considered the Kushite ruler over Egypt, 721 to 707 BCE. Taharqa, known for building projects and conflicts with the Assyrians from 1690 to 664 BCE. The political structure involves a monarchy with a king, often referred to as a pharaoh, at the top, supported by a hierarchy of officials, priests, and military leaders. The capital shifted from Napata to Meru around 591 BC. Cultural contributions, they built pyramids, burial sites, temples, palaces, and notably as Meru and Napa. The art production was distinctive pottery, jewelry, sculptures that blended Egyptian and indigenous styles. Writing was developed with the Meroitic script and one of the earliest known writing systems in Africa. The economic system was based in agriculture, cattle herding, and trade. Kush was rich with iron ore and became a center for iron production, as well as trade, ivory, as well as trading gold, ivory, and exotic animals with Egypt and other regions. The climate, because it's located in a region that's horrid, that's hot and arid climate, relying on the Nile for irrigation, it has natural resources including gold mines, iron ore, and ebony. Kush, as a cultural contributor, played a significant role in cultural and political dynamics of northeastern Africa. Its conquest of Egypt and subsequent rule as the 25th dynasty highlights its influence. Blending these cultures during this period left a lasting impact on the art, the architecture, and religious practices of the region. Carthage, or Carthaginian Empire, 814 BCE to 146 BEC. BCE. This is present-day Tunisia, with the capital Carthage and the territories extending across North Africa, parts of Spain, and islands into the Western Mediterranean. One of the key rulers who started Carthage and the founder and the first queen was Dido, a Phoenician. We also have Hannibal Barca, who was a renowned military leader during the Second Punic Wars against Rome. The political structure is one of a monarchy, and Carthage evolved into a republic. The governance was conducted by a senate composed of elite families with elected officials known as judges and a council of elders. The cultural contributions is their maritime technology, advanced how ships are built, and contributed to the dominance of the Mediterranean trade. They developed an alphabet with the Phoenician derived script, influencing the development of writing centers in the Mediterranean. As for religion, they practiced polytheism religion with deities such as Baal and Tanit, including influent religious practices. The economic system was heavily based on maritime trade, with Carthage acting as a central hub connecting various Mediterranean cultures. They traded goods such as textiles, metals, and agricultural products and established colonies to support their commercial networks. Their climate and natural resources, because it's located in the Mediterranean climate zone, is characterized as hot, dry summers and mild, wet winters. And the region is rich in agricultural resources, fertile land suitable for growing grains, olives, and grapes. The cultural contributions, past and present, to the global history. We know that Carthage was one of the major powers in Western Mediterranean during the Hellenic period. It marked an extensive trade network. It had a formidable navy and military innovations and tactics, and it rivaled with Rome to culminate in the Punic Wars, which significantly shaped the rest of the course of of the Mediterranean and Northern Africa. Despite its eventual destruction, Carthage left a lasting legacy through its cultural contributions and legendary exploits of its leader, Hannibal. And Carthage also had one of the first known plumbing systems. There's an awesome documentary that I think the History Channel has that talks about that. Numidia Kingdom. This is located in present-day Algeria and parts of Tunisia, between the region of Carthage in east and Mauritania in the west. Massinissa was the first king to unify Numidia along and allied with Rome during the Second Punic Wars of 240 to 148 BC. Jugurtha was the grandson of Manisa, known for his conflict with Rome during the Germanic Wars. The political structure is typically divided between the Massasil and the Massasil tribes under the Manisa, who becomes a king, a unified kingdom with central monarchy. The king holds supreme authority, supported by tribal chiefs and a council of elders. The contributions are their military tactics. Their cavalry was known as esteemed and crucial in various Mediterranean conflicts. The urban developments that they established cities and modern-day states like Constance and Algeria, which became central centers for trade and culture. Their economic systems, the economy was based on agriculture, pastoralism, and trade. The Nubia was known for breeding horses and exporting them along with agricultural products like grain and olives. They also engaged in trade with Carthage and later Rome. Climate and natural resources, situated in the modern climate with fertile plains and mountain regions. The area was suitable for agriculture and livestock rearing, and it possessed minerals such as iron and lead. As for the contributions, Nubia played a significant role in the power dynamics along northern Africa and western Mediterranean. It allied with Rome during the Punic Wars, which contributed to the defeat of Carthage. And its kingdom's military and political interactions with Rome influenced Roman policies and military strategies in North Africa. All right, so those are a few of the kingdoms. And I also wanted to highlight a few of the leaders for you, and then we'll be wrapping up. So I divided them up into the kings and the queens. So we're going to start first with Queen Amanias of the Kush Kingdom. And she is notable because she negotiated a peace treaty with Rome to protect Kush's independence, and she is seen as a symbol of African resistance against invasion. She was one of the few rulers to challenge Rome. We also have two more queens, Queen Amina Azarlu. She built walled cities to strengthen the military defenses. She was a skilled queen warrior, a symbol of female empowerment and leadership in Nigeria and West Africa. And Queen Ya Asantewa led the resistance against the British colonial rule for the War of the Golden Two in 1900 CE. She was part of the Ashanti Kingdom in Ghana, and Ghana honors her as a national hero, and schools and institutions are named after her for her efforts to fight. We didn't sing a job she used military tactics and diplomacy to protect her kingdom's independence. She established Matamba as a refuge for escaped slaves and a regional military power. Next, I cannot have this lecture without talking about the Domi warrior women, Amazon women in the Benin military. And these are also the Domi warriors, the present day Benin. It was an all-female military regiment. If you watch the movie The Woman King in 2022, it is based on their history of the Agoji or the Domi Amazons trained in warfare, and they fought against European colonizers as well as rival African states. Come. All right, we're getting toward the end. I know this has been a long lecture, so I apologize. Mansa Musa, we talked about him earlier, ruler of Mali Empire, his pilgrimage to Mecca. He shared wealth and knowledge, and he's known as the wealthiest man in history and expanded trade and Islamic education. We also have Sunaniata, founder of Mali, strategic lawmaker and visionary ruler. Leadership established one of the most powerful and wealthy empires in African history. King Alfonso I introduced Christianity to the Congo and then converted to Catholicism and established its kingdom's religion. Developed a central government with appointed officials overseeing provinces and initially allowed trade with the Portuguese, including enslaved of their people, and began to resist the transatlantic slave trade when their people start becoming enslaved. Last but certainly not least, we have two more. We have Shaka Zulu. I wanted to give you a picture of him, visionary leader, nation builder, military leadership prowess and tactics shaped the future of the African resistance movements. Hannibal Baraka, this is an image of the well-known trek of him taking elephants into war through the Alps to fight Rome and won key victories over Rome and led his army through the Alps into Italy on what they consider war elephants. And this was a North African military commander and strategist from Carthage, which is modern day Tunisia. So as we come to a close, what is the legacy? Africa is home to some of the world's greatest and earliest civilizations. Long before European contact, from north to south, east to west, powerful empires and kingdoms thrived, making significant contributions in trade, governance, military strategies, education, culture, and innovations. These civilizations laid the modern foundation for modern Africa and continue to influence African and African American identity, resilience, and historical reclamation. Contributions to Africa today, we have an economic legacy of Africa's historical dominance in gold, salt, ivory, and trade routes. They still shape modern economies. The political influence. Many African nations retain governance structures influenced by ancient African empires. Cultural identity, the Swahili language, griot storytelling, and matrilineal traditions remain strong. Educational centers, Timbuktu historical libraries still house ancient African manuscripts. Contributions to the African diaspora and African Americans, African American resistance and leadership. Leaders like Harriet Tubman and Nat Turner share the same warrior spirit as Queen Nzinga and Nya Asatua. African military strategists inspired Black resistance movement in the U.S. and the Caribbean. And as for a cultural influence, African music, storytelling, and spiritual traditions survived slavery and became the foundation for Black American culture. Swahili language and the African heritage are celebrated in the Afrocentric movement, Pan-Africanism, and Black identity. As for educational and intellectual influences, the rediscovery of Mali, Ghana, Songhay intellectual heritage empowers African Americans to reclaim their historical greatness. And the civil rights and Pan-African movements drew inspiration from Africa's pre-colonial governance. Finally, I want to end with a map so you can see the whole big, beautiful continent. Early African civilizations proved Africa had powerful, sophisticated societies long before educational colonization. African and African American history is interconnected. Our ancestors have built empires, led armies, and shaped global trade. The idea that North African kingdoms are separate from Africa and Black identity is a byproduct of historical distortion, rooted in colonialism, racism, and academic bias. Recognizing the rich, interconnected history of African civilization is essential to reclaiming Africa's rightful place in global history. The tendency to disassociate Northern African kingdoms from Africa and Black Africans is rooted in a combination of historical bias, colonial narratives, racial constructs, and cultural misconceptions. Learning about these civilizations helps us to reclaim African identity and challenge historical erasure and omissions of the valuable contributions of the African and African American people. Thank you for listening. These are my references. I'm going to give you a few minutes to look at that. It's 3 pages of references. Here's my other page of references, in case you want to do any further reading and or exploration of this information. And the final page of references, should you decide to do some continued exploration. And if we were in class, I would ask you for questions and comments. So since we aren't, and this is an online class, feel free to email me or stop by my office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9:30 to 11. All right? Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this and learned a lot. I'm going to stop the show now. Stop recording.